This is Y-Line for February 19, 2006. Autumn Williams takes an in-depth look at the National Issues Commission, and Shelley Fontaine questions whether the youth can lead the youth. Matt Schlichting analyzes the various aspects of the court system. You'll only find these stories on Y-Line.
I'm Autumn Williams, and welcome to Y-Line. Youth in Government is a program that offers opportunities for every delegate's interests, from manipulating and persuading to researching and formulating an opinion. Of these many opportunities, one that is often ignored is that of the National Issues Commission, or NIC program. Its intensity, competitive nature, and unique grading system is also ignored. I hope that you gain a better understanding via the perspectives reached in my investigation. Thank you and enjoy. I'm here with Portia Rivera, the National Issues Commission Director. So Portia, what is the purpose of the National Issues Commission?
The National Issues Commission is a program in youth and government that gives delegates the opportunity to explore issues of national or international importance. So that's really our main purpose, is to try and provide a venue to discuss those things that can't be discussed in the Senate or the Assembly, because they're primarily dealing with issues related to California.
Why was this program started in the first place?
The program was started in the first place, I think, for that purpose, obviously, to provide an opportunity to have that kind of debate, but also to, really the program was looking to expand and to have another program area that could hold, up to 258 delegates, and so that's one of the other reasons that we exist.
Out of all these proposals, what makes a good proposal?
Well, one of the things that makes our program different is we don't vote for a yes or a no on proposals. We rank proposals based on certain criteria. And so we have 5 ranking criteria: debatability, creativity, feasibility, national, international importance, and evidence of research. And so when we look at a proposal based on that ranking criteria, you can not necessarily just say, oh, I really like this or I don't like this. You have to evaluate it using those criteria, so that helps us to have high quality debate, as opposed to something that people are just like, oh, I think this is a good idea, but no one's interested in it. So at the NIC, we value the opportunity to have that really valuable discussion about issues. That's the point, whether you agree with them or you disagree with them.
As in all Y&G programs, delegates have varied perspectives on NIC. I'm here with Nikki Sumayat from the Ketchum delegation, a first-year NIC program member. So Nikki, why did you choose this program in the first place?
Well, I heard a lot of great things about the NIC program. Basically, the thing that caught my attention was that I was able to, write my own bill and be able to compete against other people and basically just get my opinion heard. So I wanted to make a difference kind of thing and be able to say what I wanted to say.
What's your favorite part of this program?
My favorite part, as I said, is kind of the competitive nature, I guess. Being able to hear what other people have to say, and also being able to write my own proposal. If it does make it far, I could be able to say that's my proposal, that's my bill.
This being your first year in the NIC program, what was your point of view on the intensity and competitive nature?
Well, I really like it. At first, it was somewhat of a surprise, wow, all these people, 200 some people, fighting for 20 spots. But I really like it. The competitive nature is really good, and I think it's a great learning experience.
I'm here with Katie Bader, a second-year NIC commissioner from the Gardena Carson YMCA delegation. What do you think makes a good proposal?
Well, I think for NIC, the good proposals include debatability. Well, there's criteria that as long as you guys can debate it and it's possible, feasible and creative, and just if it's a good idea, that makes a good proposal.
What is a knick-knack?
A knick-knack? Oh,
what
yeah.
Is that?
If yours doesn't pass, I think the second round, then they give you a proposal to research, and then when you get to General Assembly, your job is to make sure it doesn't pass.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in
Wow.
General Assembly, yeah.
Thank you very much, Katie.
Yeah, sure, anytime.
After delegates have researched and prepared their proposals, the chance to present their work arrives. Delegates' proposals must endure 3 rounds before they have the chance to speak before the General Assembly, or GA. I'm here with Justin Chasey from Albany delegation, one of the 4 presiding commissioners of the NIC program. Do you think that the rating system is too subjective compared to the Senate or Assembly?
I would say it makes it more objective instead of subjective, actually, because what you're doing is taking an average of a bunch of people's ranking criteria. There are 5 categories, and each person ranks it from 1 to 4. And what that does is allows you to find a true average among the group.
I'm here with Angie Rice from the SRV Biolovo delegation and Alana Ricks from the Westchester Family delegation. And what made the both of you decide to run for presiding commissioners this year?
I think I decided partially because I love NIC so much because of my first experience, and last year was amazing too. And we had a PC from our delegation, Kenny White, and he was really amazing, so that kind of inspired me. And I think I've spoken so many times on so many different things, I think I wanted to give someone else an opportunity to speak.
Yeah, it just seemed like, everybody always says, the more involved you get, the more fun the program is going to be. And, so it seemed like that would be the best way to get involved. I really wanted to, go around, meet people, sort of get over my shyness, that sort of thing. And just I don't know, it seemed like the best or the most fun way to really get into the program. And yeah, that's pretty much why I did it.
Here at the state capitol, national and international proposals are developed and prepared before the commission. Unfortunately, fewer proposals progress through each round. The final few that progress to the General Assembly are announced at the NIC press conference.
Written by Kevin Liu from DVY Camp Belinda. Proposal number 0802. Give him a round of applause.
What was your proposal about?
My proposal was depleting military funds in Iraq and redirecting them into the Sudan-Darfur region, so to help the genocide that's occurring there right now.
And what do you think set your proposal apart from others that didn't make it to the second round?
I think what set it apart is that it had to do with something a lot of people don't know about. Sudan, a lot of people weren't aware of the genocide. I had to explain it a lot, so I think that set me apart.
Do you think that the judging system is fair in the NIC program?
For the most part, I think it's fair. It covered a lot of categories, but for some people I know if they didn't like the proposal, they'd kind of grade harsher or something. But for the most part, I thought it was fair.
So you two are part of the NIC program, right?
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
And did your proposals make it to the second round?
No.
So do you think that the judging process is fair within this program, not only for your proposals, but for all in general?
It's fair for the most part, but it's just there's some where everybody agrees with it, so it gets cut down on debatability points, and so because of that, they don't get to progress further.
So during the press conference, I heard something about a PC docket, and what is that?
It's where if you didn't make it to second round and you think that it was unfair, you go and you tell them why I didn't make it and explain your proposal, and then you can get into GA.
In the long run, NIC delegates learn a lesson that applies to all jobs beyond youth in government. Whether you win or lose, there is always an opportunity to learn. Thank you and have a great evening.
Hello delegates, I'm Shelley Fontaine for KYNG TV. Here at Youth in Government, we have 39 youth officers, forum officers, and chaplains who are all role models for every delegate in our beloved program. They are the heart of youth in government. But I want to raise a few questions concerning delegates and their officers. Do delegates realize how much officers do for the program, and do they look up to them as a positive role model? Can every officer relate to every delegate? And are officers influential enough to keep kids out of trouble? Coming up, I'm going to be interviewing a few officers and delegates to better examine whether the youth leading their peers is effective for the program and to see if officers have heart enough to lead their peers in a positive way. To get a first-hand account of what officers do to keep a positive attitude and prepare for delegates in Sacramento, I was given the privilege of interviewing our Chief Justice, Ken Verbowski. Do you feel officers, who are the same age as delegates, are mature and responsible enough to be leading their peers?
Well, absolutely. I think it's not so much about what the officers are doing, but the kind of impression they reflect upon the delegates they're serving. I think it's, for a lot of people, I know when I was a younger delegate, it's a very comforting factor to think that, I can be in that kind of position next year or something. And it's just kind of bringing everyone down to the same level, but at the same time separating yourself enough to establish yourself as a leader.
What have officers done to help youth in government run more effectively?
Well, there's a couple things. The biggest thing would be planning, right? There's so much behind the scenes work that is involved, and the first few years when I wasn't an officer, like you can't realize how much goes on, and the amount of coordination that goes on between the program staff, the adults, and the youth officers. It's tremendous. I mean, everything has to be planned out to the T.
Have you ever been in a situation where you've not been in good model behavior and there's been a negative outcome?
I have to be honest, I have abused the powers, the privileges a little bit. I've done some cutting in line, just flashed my badge, shown my gavel. I'll be honest, I kind of stepped over the boundaries there. And also, people are asking you all these questions. A lot of times you just don't have the answers, so you gotta make something up.
After interviewing Ken Verbowski, I got to review his speech at the Second Joint Convention. He talked mostly about free will and our decisions, but was the point easy to follow? Ken Verbowski oftentimes uses a lot of words to convey a simple point. Is Ken on the same level as all delegates, or does he speak higher than the delegates feel he should?
That this idea of free will, this abstract belief that binds all analogs of our perceptions of self and identity, is so fundamental and so pertinent to all of us.
To get a better understanding of public opinion, I asked Delegate Buddy Lee about his feelings on Ken Verbowski's speech.
Well, he's really that motivating because he ends up talking and going in long tangents, and he gets very wordy about things that you kind of lose focus and sight on what he's on the real message he's trying to send.
So is he an inspiring speaker overall? Even with the big words and maybe his long tangents, do you feel like you were at all inspired?
I mean, yes, definitely. He's inspired because he puts the factor in where you feel like you're part of the bigger group. You're not just simpletons that get patronized by everyone else being, oh, you're just kids. But with him, you can say, yeah, this is how we think. We are not just something simple.
After the first opening joint session, Attorney General Bill Locklear took time to answer questions about if youth officers are responsible enough to be leading the youth. Would you say youth in government is run effectively by our youth officers?
Well, everything I can see, it looks wonderful. And the fact that so many people come back year after year suggests that they're having a good experience and think it's worthwhile. And certainly what I see, it's terrific.
Thank you for being with us today.
Good luck.
Our very own Governor, Paul Gardner III, agreed to answer questions after the first joint convention about his feelings on leading peers of his same age. Do you feel officers who are the same age as delegates are mature and responsible enough to be leading their peers?
Yes, I do. In fact, I feel that everyone in this program is mature enough to lead each other, and that these delegates showed great courage in choosing to run amongst their peers, which is probably the hardest experience of their life. I know it was very difficult for me, but very rewarding because it means a lot to an officer to know that you've been elected by a majority of your peers, and I feel that they are more than capable of leading their peers here at this conference.
So exactly how do delegates feel on such a matter?
The officers are pretty good people all around. They're so busy with their life, they're involved in youth and government, they just want to help everybody out, and they do a lot for us as delegates and a lot for the program as well.
However, the key influential figures in the program, the chaplains, seem to have an adverse effect on the delegates.
Leadership is not a formula or a program. It is a human activity that comes from the heart and considers the hearts of others.
Despite these positive speeches and influential figures, there are still delegates who are breaking code and getting expelled from the program. For example, 5 delegates from a Southern California delegation were sent home for drinking last year at Sacramento. Kyle Scott, a committee chair, agreed to answer questions about the inspiring nature of officers and the delegates who sometimes don't follow code. Have you ever felt officers may give a false positive projection of youth in government?
A false positive projection? I think that part of their job is to project a positive attitude. As in every community and every society, there's going to be people who don't want to participate and maybe want to bring a system down. But I think that we need heads of state, just as we have here, to lead us towards the promised land.
So within your delegation, have you ever experienced delegates breaking code of conduct and or getting expelled from the program?
Right. Well, just as I said, I think that in every situation, there's going to be people that go against the grain, and that's why we have people here enforcing things, deans and such. Sometimes they're out of control. But I think that's a necessary part of youth and government, makes everything flow.
So do you personally look up to them as a positive role model?
Absolutely. Jeremiah in particular, I think that he's an established intellectual who doesn't speak just to speak, he speaks to convey a message, and that I really respect about him.
Our Lieutenant Governor, Jeremiah Chambers, stood to discuss his feelings on expulsion of delegates and how officers are always trying to be a positive influence on delegates.
So with the leaders this year, you don't think anything negative is going to happen between the leaders? Like none of them are going to break code or set a negative example?
Oh, definitely not. I definitely trust all of my youth leaders with the fullness of my confidence. I have to. If they're looking out for me, I'm looking out for them. We're the most important people in the organization, but we're also the least important in the organization.
So as a youth officer, do you feel that you and all the other officers are qualified and mature enough to be leading their peers?
A lot of people ask, when is the time? When should we do this? When should we stand up? Well, the time is now. The maturity is now. We must act when our heart is telling us to act. People who are our officers acted when their hearts told them to. So I trust them fully with all my confidence. So I definitely think so.
Youth in government is run successfully because of our youth officers. Even if some delegates feel that their speaking skills exceed their own, they are still exemplary, and officers are a positive example in everything they do for the program. Even though they may glorify some aspects of youth in government, at no fault of their own are delegates being expelled. As Chief Justice Ken Grabowski put it, we all have the ability to make our own decisions, and delegates will make their decisions despite their youth officers. They are simply a positive role model to help lead this program. These officers have been elected by our delegates, and their purpose is to make youth in government an experience we can learn from. By being the heart of youth in government, officers are here to change your life in a positive way.
Hello, and welcome to Y-Line with me, Max Lichtig. As all of you may or may not know, the court programs are intricate and difficultly mastered aspects of youth in government, and are world-renowned for their controversial topics and heated courtrooms. But do you really know the kinks and stinks of the court program? Well, I investigated to see how the court cookie really crumbles. Over the course of our story, we will cover the lower courts, make our way to the high courts, as well as exposing the hidden feelings of judicial review against the Supreme Court. First off, we at Y-Line witnessed the swearing into office of every court member. Right hands were raised as delegates felt honored to take hold of their positions. The delegates left, and the court program went underway.
All right, I guess it's time to start. How's it going? All right. It's a fun weekend, guys. Welcome to trial court. As you can see, guys, we're here to have fun, but there's a couple ground rules I need to set.
The trial court consists of a judge yet no jury, a prosecution and defense if it is a criminal case, and a plaintiff and defendant if it is a civil case, in which the judge gives a final verdict.
To talk about here, you've got about as current a statement of the law as you'll ever get in either law practice or if you serve on the bench.
The appellate court has an appellant and a respondent. The appellant appeals to the decision of the trial court, and the respondent is the winning side of the case. It is argued in front of the 3 justices, all of whom may uphold the lower court decision, reverse the decision, or reverse and remand it.
Is proposal number 0103.
In the Sheraton, jury trial started its training with practicing how they were going to choose a jury on Saturday. The jury trial is similar to trial court in that its delegates hold similar positions, yet it has mostly criminal cases. So who are you?
My name is Sydney Phelps, and I'm from the Crisena Kenyatta YMCA, and I'm this year's district attorney.
And what makes the trial court, it's what you're in, correct?
Jury trial.
Sorry. Wow. Oh my God. Why did I write trial court?
Let's repeat the question.
Okay. What makes jury trial different from the rest of the court programs?
Well, the thing about jury trial is that it is very competitive to be in jury trial. It is a select group of 15 individuals that were interviewed and turned in an application at Bob 2. And what separates jury trial from, say, trial court is that this case involves a jury, and the attorneys have to go through the process of voir dire, which is jury selection, and then they have to prepare and perform the whole entire case. So it's actually a lot more work than trial court because of the whole jury selection process and the level of difficulty of the case usually.
Fantastic. Would you please tell me what you are about to do in this room right now?
We are practicing voir dire, which is the first step of the process. Before we try our case in the court in the Capitol, we are going to go through jury selection. And that is what we're practicing right now, because although it is not a very difficult concept, it does take a lot of skill and attention to detail. And so we're just going over that, doing some mock scenarios, practicing, stuff like that.
That's great. So tell me, what are the cases like?
Usually they're murder cases. That's what this year's case is. That's all I'm going to say, is that it's a murder case. It's pretty exciting. And
Thanks for not giving it away.
Oh, well, you know, that's just the way you got to do it.
So are you excited for the future?
I'm always excited for the future. Always, every day I wake up and I'm excited.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Hey.
And nice to meet you too. So can you guys please tell me your positions in the court program that you are in?
We are members of the jury trial court program.
Yes, I am also a member of the jury trial program, and I am a member of the defense.
Okay, and can you please tell me what the main cases that you guys are working on?
We're working on a Russian roulette case that involves a supposed killing of a 11-year-old boy.
And does this get pretty controversial?
Yeah, it gets pretty controversial on both sides of the case because the prosecution is arguing that it was an intentional, premeditated murder, while we, the defense, are trying to argue that it was an accidental murder or that it was reckless manslaughter in that manner.
So you would say it's basically murder cases for jury trial?
It is a murder case.
Right.
Okay. So what do you feel about the other court programs?
We don't really associate with the Supreme Court or Judicial Review or the trial court, but we respect them and we understand that they are of equal stature and importance.
Of course. And have you heard about the feud between the Judicial Review and the Supreme Court?
Well, there is a rumor that
There is a rumor.
Yeah, that they kind of hate each other.
That there is some competition.
Yeah.
But we are impartial and that we are the jury trial.
We're basically above that. So.
Okay, well, can you tell me what you're doing today?
Today we had some training in the jury selection process, which is called the voir dire, and
we interviewed the VIPs who came along. We used them as practice, and tomorrow we're actually going to be doing the real version of the voir dire process.
So it's basically all leading up to tomorrow, the climax.
Correct.
Per se. Can you please tell me if you're excited for the jury selection?
Ecstatic.
Yes, we are. I mean, I've never experienced. I don't think any of us have experienced a program such as this, where we get to truly get into the shoes of real lawyers and the process they go through in selecting a jury for a murder case or any case.
And you think you're ready for the jury selection?
Yes, absolutely.
For the most part, we just had some more training today, and we'll be ready for tomorrow.
All right. Well, I'll be there. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Lichten.
I'll see you tomorrow. The Supreme Court, on the other hand, seemed more relaxed. A justice lay on the bed while Ken Verbosky, the Chief Justice, started organizing the court's plans. The Supreme Court has 7 justices and pretty much the same aspects, yet it differs in that its materials are handed to them and handles more cases, whereas the Judicial Review goes to the law library to find their materials and research court case precedents that support their arguments. Hello, nice to meet you. I'm Max.
Nice to meet you, Max.
Reporting for Wildline. I'm going to ask you guys a few questions. Can you please describe to me your positions in the Supreme Court?
David? We're justices. We're 2 of the justices on the panel of 7, led by our Chief Justice, Ken Verbosky.
There's the Chief Justice, and then there's 6 associate justices, and we're 2 of the 6.
So you guys are the same exact position?
We are in the same position.
Okay. Can you please tell me what the main case is and what it's called?
It's State versus the State of Dink. It's basically an inheritance case dealing with probate laws and unborn zygotes sitting in a freezer. There's
Alright, so correct me if I'm wrong. You guys are I'm guessing many people out there is the largest court program. I mean, largest as in, probably the most important.
It's the most superior court in the state of California.
It's given the name Supreme for a reason. It's the highest appellate court.
We could overrule any other decision.
So
any decision can be appealed to us, and if we take the case, we can just change that verdict.
And if a case cannot be passed or finished in the lower courts, it rises up to you guys,
Exactly.
right?
Well, I mean, it's finished. There's a verdict, and then there could be an appeal. And if we choose to hear the appeal, then we can change the verdict, redirect the verdict.
Okay. Can you please describe to me any knowledge you guys know about the kind of feud going on between the Judicial Review and the Supreme Court, the beef that you guys have between each other?
Well, basically, they're a little bit jealous. They're sort of in a stink because the Supreme Court is the highest court. It's appellate court.
According to you.
No, it is the highest court. Technically, it is the highest court. And Judicial Review, they're just an appellate court. They're a superior court above the normal appellate court in the sense that they're appointed officials, but and if this was the real state of California, their case could be appealed to us, and then we'd have the final say.
They feel they deserve more acceptance of how much power they have.
Not really. They don't have really, compared to us, they don't really have any power.
They do have more power than
if we don't agree with if we don't agree with their verdict, we can change it. So if they don't agree with the appellate verdict, then they can change that, and we can change theirs. So it's basically like there's the appellate court, then there's them, and then there's us. And they call themselves like the Supreme Court Plus and all this stuff, and try to be cocky and funny, but it's really.
Can you further describe that?
Well, they sent us like a letter, a little letter calling them the Supreme Court Plus, and we're like the wannabes or something. But it's really the other way around. So they're sort of just bitter because they suck.
Well, thanks for your honesty, but I'm sure there's a whole other side to the spectrum of.
No, like
really,
there really isn't anything.
Okay, well, hopefully no riots will break out between you two. But thank you very much. I look forward. To seeing you guys in action tomorrow morning. We'll be there, and I hope you guys do well. All right, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Can you please tell me anything that you know about the feud between the Supreme Court and Judicial Review?
Well, I've heard about the feud between them because a friend of mine's on the Supreme Court, but I really don't know anything about it.
Thank you.
I'm not at liberty to answer that right now.
Can you please tell me anything that you know about the feud between the Supreme Court and Judicial Review?
Erroneous! Erroneous on both accounts!
Hey, I'm here at the 6th floor of the Hyatt Hotel with two judicial reviewers, Jennifer and Becca, who are here to tell me a little bit about the feud going on between the Supreme Court and the Judicial Review. So far, I have basically just the opinions of the Supreme Court, but I'm pretty sure the opinions of the Judicial Review are just as strong or stronger. So, Jennifer, can you please tell me what your position is and a little bit about yourself?
Yes, my position is the appellant for the Judicial Review. We're attorneys. We're on the side of the guy who's appealing the decision of a previous court's ruling. So we're trying to figure out what was unconstitutional about the previous court's decision, and so why it should be overturned, and that's what we're explaining to the justices.
And Becca, can you please tell me your position?
I'm basically in the same position. We're co-attorneys. This is our second year as attorneys together, and we are the appellants. Yeah.
Thank you. So, Jennifer, can I please hear your view on the Supreme Court?
The Supreme Court is a wonderful organization. They do their job very well, but we do it a little bit better. Our job is, as Judicial Review, is actually what we consider Supreme Court Plus. We have a Supreme Court case. It's a top-level case that is an appeals case. We take it and we find our own research. We come up a day early and we go to McGeorge Law Library in a bus and we spend 3 to 4 hours searching through all the CalJURs and the research books and the Deering's codes and the penal codes and case books and laws and ledgers and all that stuff and find our own research for our own cases. We end up with a stick that's almost 2.5, 3 inches thick.
So you're saying that the work you do is a lot greater than the Supreme Court?
Pretty much. Our cases may be similar, but they're given 3 to 4 research cases, so they end up being a stack about that big. We're given 13, 14 cases plus 10 or 11 penal codes, so our case books end up being about that thick. So yes, we do about 10 times more work. with about a third, not even a third, with minimal recognition from anybody as to what we do. Or even the description of what we do is wrong in the program book. Seriously, anyone who can read my pack in the same amount of time that I read it is welcome to take all the recognition from now on.
Your response, Michael.
Well, okay.
Dude, are you kidding me?
Well, I mean, at least we're supreme. Maybe you're like, you can read really fast, but we're supreme. You're not the supreme reader. Are you the supreme?
Supreme Court
You,
too.
you do no work. You get a stack of papers handed to you. You're like baby fed your information. It's
Rebuttal.
Okay. You're just an appellate. You're an appellate court. You might as well have a little red badge and sit with everyone else. You're not even special.
Your program was made before ours, so that's why you got to tell Supreme Court. When ours was made, they tried to call Supreme Court Plus, but your egos wouldn't let you take it, so we had to be called Judicial Review.
So who's really the Supreme Court here?
We are, because we do all of our own research, like real lawyers and real attorneys and real justices. We do all our own research. We have to read unbelievable amounts of work, and then we actually have to argue our case on top of that. You guys are hand-fed all of your stuff. You're given it at Bob too. We don't get it till the Thursday we get here.
They're saying they have a ton of more work than you, and they have put more sweat and energy into it. Wait, rebuttal.
Obviously, been arguing this years and years and years.
Seems that the feelings are strong between the two. I'm gonna have to let you guys go. I already got your guys' opinions. We're gonna have to let them spill their opinions to us. Okay. It seemed that the feelings were so strong that you guys were about to wage an all-out war, West Side Story style. Is that true? Would you have gone West Side Story brutal war?
as individual people, the Supreme Court is fine. As a collective entity, they need to understand that they're not really that cool.
And we will kick their butt on any given day.
Because we could take them.
And even in 3-inch stilettos, I'll do it.
Well,
If David and Mike want to put on 3-inch stilettos and fight me, fine, we'll take care of it. I have plenty of shoes I can lend them.
On to more subtle news. What is your case about?
Our case is basically about it's a murder and search and seizure case. It's about a guy who murders a woman of Middle Eastern descent and then decides to
Eat a pizza.
and hides his brick, and then they find the brick, and are they really allowed to go in there and find the brick?
It
And
was a
there's
legal search and seizure. Then he's 14 years old. He was tried as an adult and sentenced to death by lethal injection. And he's a 14-year-old. So is sentencing a 14-year-old to death by lethal injection legal, right, proper? Is it cruel and unusual punishment? We have to deal with all those issues.
Hello, I'm Max here at YNG TV. I'm in front of the Supreme Court building in Sacramento, and since we are not allowed to bring our cameras inside the courtroom, I was in there witnessing the case going on itself. The case is the State versus Dink, and it's basically about arguing the rights of a zygote, whether or not they may be able to be a legal heir for a major fortune of their deceased parents. So basically in the inside, it was kind of an octagon-shaped room with an outer ring of spectators, 7 Supreme Court justices, and of course their topic was basically the zygotes being the heirs. And Attorney General Mitch Miller was in there. He was trying to say that the zygotes did not deserve to be the legal heirs of the massive fortune. Ken Vrabowski was there too in his high chair. He was telling basically all the Supreme Court justices were trying to argue against any point they could, and as the presiding justice of Judicial Review, Andy Chow, told me, it was a court without witnesses. Eventually, the room heated up when an attorney for the zygotes attaining the fortune argued against the justices, with an intense yet intelligible debate ensuing between the attorney and Supreme Court Justices Ken Vrabowski, with Justice David Badagali-Ansel strongly arguing against the attorney as well. So I hope you got a glimpse of what's been going on in Supreme Court. I'm going to talk with my buddy Mary here for a little bit more, and I hope we get to see you guys later. Thanks very much for signing in. Of Sacramento, and I am with, what's your name, sir?
Jeff Pung.
And we are at the jury selection right now. So can you please tell me who you are and what your position is at the moment?
Well, I was a page, and then I volunteered as a juror. So they sent me here. We got put into several rooms, or a room back there, and we were split up randomly, put into separate 3 rooms. And then for the first court, I was rejected because I knew the defense. But for this court, I was accepted as an alternate, even though I had relations with the prosecution.
So what kind of relations did you have?
Not the kind you're thinking of. I just know her. She's a chaplain for our delegation.
So as an alternate, that means if a juror drops out, you take their place?
Yes, that's what I understand.
And how many jurors are there?
As of now, there are 6 official jurors and 2 alternates.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll let you get back to your session. I appreciate your time. We are on the bus on the way back from the Superior Courthouse of Sacramento, and I'm with some jurors and a defense attorney. Can you guys please tell me what side you're on, and if possible, and what just happened today?
We actually aren't supposed to talk about it.
We don't even know what the case. We don't even know what the case is yet.
Yes, we do. We're just not supposed to talk about it.
No, we don't.
Well, who's telling the truth?
They just picked the jury.
They told us what the case is about.
They just told us a synopsis.
Can you tell me your position and what you were doing today?
I am the defense attorney, and it is my job to prove that they are innocent. And so we're going to do our case tomorrow, and so they're my jurors, and you guys better say he's innocent.
So do they have the credentials that you wanted?
For the most part, yeah.
And are you happy with your boss?
Who's our boss?
This was Max reporting for Y-Line on KYNG TV.